The title is The Story of the Last Part of Paul's Life. 1. Paul talks about his approaching death as follows. 2 Timothy 4, 6-7. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. 2. In 64 AD, as a way to calm the public sentiment following the Great Fire of Rome disaster, King Nero placed the blame on Christianity, which was an emerging religion at the time, and massacred Christians. Meanwhile, Paul, as a Christian leader, died in 68 AD. Many Christians would have died and taken refuge. The Christians would have had no choice but to take refuge, especially around their leader, Paul. 2 Timothy 4:10, For Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present world, and is departed unto Thessalonica, Crescens to Galatia, Titus unto Dalmatia. In the passage above, Paul would have been very heartbroken if Demas, Crescens, and Titus had fled. 2 Timothy 4:16. And my first answer, no man stood with me, but all men forsook me. I pray God that it may not be laid to their charge. That may or may not be the case. The preceding passage seems to show that when Paul was first tried, there were no other defense attorneys, and he had to defend himself alone. This is because of the following passage in the Bible where Paul tells Timothy to come with Mark. If the situation had been dangerous, Timothy and Mark could have come and been martyred. 2 Timothy, Only Luke is with me. Take Mark and bring him with thee, for he is profitable to me for the ministry. 3. In any case, it is said that Luke always accompanied Paul, but Paul was a felon under Roman law, and Luke was a person who helped the felon, so he could have been punished as a felon. But how was it possible for Luke to always accompany Paul, take care of him, and become a witness of the gospel safely? We cannot know this fact because it does not appear in the Bible. According to one fictional story, did Luke as a doctor show deep loyalty to a former king of Rome and receive a king won by that king, which enabled him to avoid punishment and always help Paul. Later, when he goes to heaven and asks the Lord, we know for sure. 4. Before his death, Paul tells Timothy to bring a coat and a leather book ahead of winter. 2 Timothy 4:14. The cloak that I left at Troas with Carpus, when thou comest, bring with thee and the books, but especially the parchment. It seemed like that at some time point, Paul left those at Carpus' house for fear of becoming a burden. What do these cloak and leather books mean? It is not specially stated in the Bible. We can only guess. If Paul needed clothes to prepare for the cold winter, Luke, who was accompanying him, could have bought them and provided them. It may not seem like preparation for the cold. Could it be that the cloak was the one he wore on the road to Damascus when he encountered the voice and light of Jesus, and that he intended to die wearing it on his final journey of life when he was beheaded? Paul was a Roman citizen, so he could have been punished by being beheaded rather than being eaten by lions. Or like the cloak that fell from Elijah's body before his ascension to heaven, 2 Kings 2:13, did Paul intend to leave the bloody cloak to Timothy when he was beheaded? Since we cannot know the details, we have no choice but to go to heaven and ask Jesus. Then what about letter books? We don't know. Did Paul write down what he was planning to do in the future and pass it on to Timothy himself? Five, Paul told Timothy to come quickly before winter comes. Come quickly before I die. 2 Timothy 4:21. Do thy diligence to come before winter. Did Timothy make the long journey from Ephesus to Rome and meet Paul? If Paul had been martyred before Timothy came, wouldn't he have been able to deliver the cloak and letter books directly to Paul, and would have ended up meeting with Luke? Then it would have been a heartbreaking, bitter farewell after death. When we go to heaven, all the questions we wondered about on earth will be answered. There will be a finale of sadness, pain, and tears. 신약성경 디모데후서 4장 21절. 너는 겨울 전에 어서 오라. 2 Timothy 4:21. Do thy diligence to come before winter. 디모테스第二の手紙、冬になる前にぜひ来てください。벗들이여 인생의 겨울이 되기 전에 꼭 와주세요. Thank you.